10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the rocket pool community. My name is Wack. Today is November 28th, and we're going to get started here with a post from OpenUX. So for those who've been watching for a while, OpenUX were given a grant by the GMC to do some node operator and rocket pool user experience data gathering and getting some findings. So the first bit of their report is now ready. So here, Landsman posting, excited to share with you the milestone of the research project conducted by OpenUX, made possible through a grant awarded through us for exploring the user experience of rocket pool node operators. If you don't know this project, you can get the full context here in this link. So there's a link to their grant application. And then to their Notion site where they talk about what's going on. And it says in October we published a community survey which received 88 complete responses. These were the foundation for recruiting for in-depth user interviews, but we've also gathered some insights from the survey data. It's important to note that our findings are suggestive and not confirmed by statistical methods. They are intended to offer guiding insights rather than definitive proof. This data will be further analyzed and contextualized in the final report, where it will be reported together with insights from the user interviews. As we continue our research until the end of 2023, we invite the rocket pool community to engage in discussion based on these findings. Your feedback, experience, and ideas are invaluable to us and will help shape the final report, which aims to provide actionable recommendations for enhancing the rocket pool node operator experience. And then it says you can access PDF report, and then there's a link. It says please share your thoughts and questions. So we'll come back to the thoughts and questions, but let's go and have a look at the report first. So first of all, the report looks really nice. It's 19 pages. And then there's a little bit of information about what the project is aiming to do and who OpenUX are. And then it says like who answered the survey. So there were 88 people. 79 of them came through Rocket Pool, and 9 of them came through OpenUX, and then 17 people had incomplete responses to their survey. So they said, reading the report, please note that the findings of this report are suggestive, like they just said in the post as well. So the first part here is like, how are you currently running your Rocket Pool node? And of this, we get that about 86% of people are running them at home or on premises, and then about 4% of people who answered are running it through all nodes or service like them, and then some were others. So it says home staking constitutes a majority of survey respondents, but then they said here that it's possible that all nodes users probably spend less time in the Rocket Pool community, so they might not be as engaged and they might not have come across the survey, which is why they're underrepresented, because it seems like around 25% of Rocket Pool nodes are on using all nodes graffiti, so that's something to keep in mind. Then there's it says how much ETH do you have bonded in your Rocket Pool node, and then they found that there was quite a split. It says 3 different groups. Large stakers were overrepresented in terms of percentages, and that's around 25% of node operators. RocketScan had more than 20 validators. It says this is not exact comparison, but reference to give a sense of proportions. And then let me actually just zoom in this a little bit so it's a bit easier for everyone to see and me to read as well. Yeah, so about 35% have between 8 and 31 ETH, and then about 48% have between 32 and 159 ETH, and 17.1% have more than 160 ETH. Then where did you acquire your RPL tokens? If you have acquired it multiple times, mark the time with your biggest acquisition. And then here there was kind of a split between within the last 18 months and more than 18 months ago. 1% don't hold any RPL tokens, which is interesting because I don't know how they run a node without holding any RPL tokens. And then about 9% was within the last 3 months, and about 20% was within last month. So I guess that 20% are people who kind of joined around in the lead up to Atlas and Shanghai. And then what did we find? These are the takeaways. It says, do you currently stake ETH to any of the following methods? Check all that apply. So some people hold our ETH. Some people, most of the people here run a Rocket Pool node. So this is unsurprisingly many Rocket Pool node operators hold our ETH in addition to the ETH staked in their Rocket Pool node. More interesting, some even hold liquid staking tokens from other protocols too. Significant percentage of users also do solo staking. And then here it says, if you were not running a node with Rocket Pool, what would you have chosen to do with your ETH instead? If you might have done more than one, please choose the one that's most likely for you. So here, about 40% of people said they would do solo staking. 40% of people, or thereabouts, say they would do liquid staking. And then some said they would stake with a competitor. And others said, they would do nothing, or they would do something in DeFi. Here we had a question about, if you were not running a Rocket Pool node with Rocket Pool, what would you have chosen to do with the ETH instead? You might have done more than one of these things. Choose the one that's more likely for you. So it's kind of gives you a breakdown of what amount of people who have ETH and what their answer is. And those who have the most ETH are more likely to choose that they would solo stake, and those who had less ETH were more likely to choose that they would you hold a liquid staking token. So the ones that had the most amount of ETH were less likely to hold a liquid staking token. So here a nice little takeaway was, like it says, all groups seem loyal to Rocket Pool. Few of the respondents answered that they would stake with a competitor. This is an indication that the respondents are loyal to Rocket Pool. It would be interesting to compare these results with a similar audience not running a Rocket Pool node to see how preferences among protocols measure up. It says, why did you choose to run a node with Rocket Pool versus solo staking? Check all that applied. So here as well, about earning more money, or it's technically easier, or it's a good way to support decentralization. And here the answers were kind of equally spread out depending on the amount of ETH holders. So it says relative similar preferences regardless of band size, and tangible utility matters. So it says 83.9% of respondents answered with either that they did not have enough ETH to solo stake, or that they chose to run Rocket Pool node since they earn more. Still, more value, alignment, and community belonging are still important factors to the respondents. And then here it says, how would you assess your skills in the following areas? So, this is with technical questions, and the scale is, none, I don't know this, beginner, novice, competent, capable, proficient, skilled, expert, highly skilled. So here, like programming, most people are novice or beginners. And then there's not many that I don't know this at all. However, with solidity, 60% of people said that they don't know any solidity at all. And then, there's this scale towards less as the proficiency gets higher. With the hardware, most people are novice, beginner, or competent, capable. And then with software, how to set up, most people here are a novice, a beginner, and there's kind of a skew here where with proficient, skilled takes up a good chunk as well. So that's more of a normal distribution, I guess a double top distribution. And then knowledge of Ethereum works. Here, this is where, the community really shines, I guess, where most of the people are either, nearly 80% of people are either competent, capable, or proficient, skilled. So that's really cool to see. Next up is a question, if you were not running a node with Rocket Pool, what would you have chosen to do with your ETH instead? You might have done more than one of these things. So it says this is kind of breaking it down by technical capability versus what the options are. So here you can clearly see that the people who are more technically capable are likely to choose that they would solo stake, and the people who are less technically capable are more likely to choose liquid staking token. And it's quite clear to see the distribution there, which is interesting. And then it says, on RPL staking, how much do you agree with the following statements? So it says, if I could be a Rocket Pool node operator without staking RPL, I'd still stake it because the rewards outweigh the risks. And here most people agree, or strongly agree. It says RPL token price volatility reduces the attractiveness of being a Rocket Pool node operator. And here as well, people either strongly agree or agree, which is most of the people here. And it says, since I became a Rocket Pool node operator, my attitude towards the RPL token has become more positive. And this is kind of a very equal distribution where not many people said strongly disagree or strongly agree, but it was almost an even split between disagree, neither agree, or disagree and agree, with a slight preference for agree. So there was some information there as well. So what's next? Here they're saying that they're going to do user interviews, they'll do user shadowing as well. And then the final project report will be published at the end of 2023 with insights from user interviews together with advice on how to improve the user experience for node operators. So this was a really nice introductory report put together by OpenUX. So if you want to go give that a read, the link is below, so you can get that. Now let's go to see what people said in the forum, and it's just Val who says really cool stuff. I would have guessed most, but confirmation is nice. But some bit surprised me. The group is even more technical than I thought, and the Rocket Pool staking question is very interesting. So those were some things that Val found interesting. If you liked, or if you liked some parts of this report or found some parts surprising, then drop them a message in the forum, and I'm sure they'd love to hear your feedback. And I guess they'll be reaching out to people about user interviews if they haven't done that already. Okay, for the next part of this episode, we're going to stick with the forum. And here we have a post from Shifrin saying round 6 of the grants, bounties, retrospective awards have been announced. And it says, hey Rocket Poolers, the GMC has concluded discussions and scoring for round 6 of the grants, bounties, retroactive awards round. This marks the first award cycle with the year 2 roster of GMC members. I'm happy to announce the following award winners. Those who do not receive an award, please note the applicants are welcome to reapply. Remember, there is an award commentary section where you can learn about the GMC's decisions. It says this post also begins a 14-day clock, during which, according to RPIP 15, anyone may file RPIP disputing a grant, boundary, or retrospective award, and then that will go to a vote, a snapshot vote. And it says any awards not subject to such a challenge will become official on December 11th. So let's have a look. There's some information about the different subcommittees. There were 3 subcommittees this time: development, research, and marketing. And then if we have a look at the scoring process, it says awards were denominated in USD. So this is the same as always, and the RPL was locked at $26. With applicants breakdown, we can see that the total grant applications, there were 7 of them. Total bounty applications, there were 4 of them. Total retro applications, there were 4 of those as well, with a total number of 15 applications. The total grants requested was $257,000. Total retro requested was $225,000, and bounties and total retros requested was $16,500, with a total amount of $499,220, and the amount the GMC approved, the amount the GMC received this month was $82,000, and the total reserves were $1.5 million. So let's have a look at the scores. Here, Shifrin shares that the GMC awarded $63,000 in rewards. So here, Ramana got $6,000, that was approved. Hildobby got $3,000, that was approved. There was a RPIP review bounty that got $5,000. Bankless did a RETH quest that was approved for $18,000. Rocket Pool scorecard was approved at $15,000. Dr. Worm's Dune work was approved at $5,500. Val's Dune work was approved at $3,000, and Gov Alpha received $8,001. Dr. Doofus was deferred with future consideration, and then IPOR, Sphere X, Nethermind, David Lerma, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, was declined, and Epinef, that was declined as well. And then there's sections of commentary, voting, and what happened in the final stages. So here Valdov said, good stuff GMC, excited to see the funding for Hildobby and the high level of funding for Gov Alpha. And Long for Wisdom, who works with Gov Alpha, said, really appreciate the vote of confidence on the RPIP portal review work. Would like to clarify a couple of points. So here Long for Wisdom says that Shifrin said they got $5,000 up front and $3,000 after 1 year of maintaining the portal work. And Long for Wisdom says, happy to maintain and make requested updates to the portal. The work is fairly satisfying and I'd love to make it work better for everyone. I'd plan to respond to reasonable requests of this nature already. With that said, is the desire for us to take a proactive role in this? Are there specific updates the GMC would like to see to the portal? On the general note, I've already made some changes since the retro application, notably to improve latex handling and to unify the treatment of tables between GitHub and portal. And then there's another comment from Shifrin saying the GMC requests that the future applications focus on the specific work outlined to facilitate more efficient evaluation. And Long for Wisdom says, this bums me out a little because I'd written the application with the intent of making it easy as possible for you all to evaluate. Seems that they didn't hit the mark there. My goal was to provide as much information as possible, including summary and evidence of work, likely responses from us, a summary of arguments for against smaller larger payments, and the offer to host the pre-change version of the portal so the committee could compare side by side. But apology, I couldn't set this up permanently. It says, with the subject of the specific work outlined, I provided a link to this forum post in the application which summarizes the changes to the portal. Did you need more than just the detail here? I'm happy to accommodate whatever format changes you prefer, but I'd appreciate it if you could be more specific about what makes the evaluations easier for you all, because it seems my assumptions were quite off. So I guess that will then go back to the GMC, who will figure that out. So anyway, if you got a reward, congratulations. And remember, the next round of reward is open now. The deadline, I think, is on December 7th. So if you haven't applied yet, get applying. Okay, next we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the new tokenomics work that's happening. So here, Epinef, who is a member of the GMC, was talking about is there a time frame that we need the foundational research work to be completed by for audits? And does the team have any pre-existing non-public infrastructure for megapools? Are these topics for us to work around? Or is everything from scratch? The next GMC round is coming up. I'd like to get some research bounties out there. So then I said this on the show, if you can get some bounties in the next 2 weeks, we'll have them decided just after Christmas. I said we really should add incentives for having them finished within a month or 6 weeks, like 50% extra or something. Also, I think it'll be smart to come up with a small quality control committee to make sure submissions are good enough quality. And if we can decide on 3 to 5 models ideas, we can put that out there. And so the quality committee can even be involved in reviewing the bounties and help the GMC with scope and usefulness. So Epinef said that's perfect. I'm hoping to put out a perspective pathway for funding rapid idea incubation, probably similar to what you envision. And what I was hoping is to get some team assurances that we don't rush things through a governance in a month and then find the team doesn't have the bandwidth for implementation for 6 to 12 months, or that they already progressed too far in another direction to go back. So I said Langas seemed encouraging of bounties. I think he even insinuated the team would write some. I very much think that we're all working together on this mode right now. And then Val then tagged Epinef to go backwards. So I said 6 weeks from now wouldn't work if we're asking the GMC, because we won't approve the next bunch of grant applications for another month. So this was like, saying that, we could get some models done for the end of the year, basically from the time of the comment. It would take 6 weeks before December 31st. So I said that that's going to impact how the GMCs can get their rewards done, because we won't have the rewards approved until December 31st. So I said what we need to do before December 10th is to come up with ideas that need modeling out and writing the bounties for them. We also need to get a bounty for quality control committee, people who can be involved, I think. And then Val said going from 2 to 6 weeks to minimum 10 weeks is a big difference. I think it might make more sense to make posts about what retros might look like and use the retros instead. So we could get people to start working now, and then what we could do is and then have those funded basically after the work is done in January or February, whenever that might be, in those GMC windows. So Epinef here said that, some throwing out some topics that might make for interesting research. It says these are all interconnected, so the system would have to work together, but for separate topics, I can see 1, LEB MEV update from Ken's work, and 2, node level collateral theory penalty system update, 3, megapools potential implementation, 4, dynamic supply demand options, so that's universal variable commission or variable RPL collateral, 5, RPL phase out / value capture / no RPL bonded megapools. He says just spitballing what are the other major topics. So then Val says that 4 and 5 may or may not be linked. I think these are big ticket explorations. The other seems fairly independent or have answers via math. So he says here that there's an update which he already did, for LEB safety in the research Val did about LEB4s. He says also a more buffer on assumptions, as it states, can certainly get brought up to date. So there's some work maybe to be done there. It says for number 2, same document hits most of that. What it doesn't hit is the minimum end for non-MEV security needs, which likely scales per pool. He says number 3 is pretty thought out, and then there's a link there as well about mega pools. It says not sure implementation details really interact much with the rest. So but then Val says a signal as a bounty or as a retroactive, same effect in my opinion. So about the dates of getting things done. So then there was a bit more discussion back and forth about that, and then we got Kane involved. So Kane said that we really need the beacon root state to go through before we can carry on working. So he says we need 4788 state root for the current megapool design, as it requires knowing the exit balance of a validator, but that doesn't hold up development because it's easy to mock out. With Houston development closing up, it's mostly a matter of governance research driving the direction we want to go. There's nothing really technical holding us back at this point. Obviously the final design of forced exits will influence what needs to be done, but that's really a small part of it development wise, and we just stub that out until more details are known. So he says and then non-fungible Yokum was asking questions about signatures, about that, and then there was some back and forth about that. And then Langer's got involved about Epinef's research areas, saying we support bounties on research topics that clarify the future direction. So he says for point number 3, which was megapool potential implementation, he says we have a prototype and draft design, but we welcome feedback. In terms of capacity, Houston is our priority for the next 6 to 8 weeks. That said, the bulk of the work is done, so we can provide support for the research design, discourse, and RPIP effort. At this stage, Kane will be moving on to RPIP 30 and RPIP 28 implementation, but I'm confident that once we have a clear vision for the future state, we'll have full capacity to take on implementation. And then there were some points that he's replying to with Val, and he says about what's divergent and what's not divergent. He says this seems divergent from the post. Original idea is calling splitting the pie. In other words, if you put 100 RPL and the vault has 1000 RPL, you get 10% of the total commission revenue. Not quite sure what your alternative is, but needing a fixed value here sounds different. He says you're right, that approach is the way to go. I was making an estimate on the extra yield you would get, but it doesn't work out like that. And then with RPL inflation, about how it's related, he said we could still choose to have it to reward staked RPL and dilute unstaked, just as today, or not. Occam has a note around inflation too that confused me. I agree that 1.5% inflation is what the PDAO/ODAO get. He says I'm coming at this from the perspective of current node operators trying to match what they have now. I do think it's beneficial to dilute the unstaked. And then he goes on to say about some, like Val saying, this would be concerning to me. Things get close to token voting. There's no link to operating mini pools, just providing RPL. Okay, fine. They need to operate one mini pool, but can stake any amount of RPL alongside that. If we think quadratic is strong enough, maybe that's okay. And then Langer says, I saw it's still tied to a node. These node operators who stake RPL are willing to participate in governance. The complete separation of ETH from RPL is something that we're getting our heads around, and I agree that we do not want to move in the token voting direction. And then Val said, in an earlier post, he said, I don't understand how this could be the case. Person A, an RPL staker in the vault, would need to pay person B, and a NRB node operator, I think that's a no RPL, no rocket pool bond node operator, would need to pay person B stole MEV. He says, again, imagining it's still tied to a node, but I agree that it doesn't seem risk optimal. So then we started getting into more discussions here, some from Magma about how much, ETH we have staked today, and what some of the numbers are and how that might work. And then Mig was sharing some ideas as well. And Epinef said, what he asked me, what do I think about this scheme for dynamic supply demand and thing. He says here are what some of the rewards might look like, and he says get some bounties and then get some more bounties, and then another round of bounties, and then total cost would come out to be about $21,000. Just kind of like throwing some numbers out there. I said I love the idea, but we paid more for research in the past. Maybe we need more community input on the amounts. This is just a rough draft, but yeah, I said let's pay them more basically. And people here were giving their input on like zero inflation RPL and how that might look if it's just they get people who stake RPL just get ETH rewards instead. And then Valdorf had some comments here as well about which comparison might be easier and what it might look like. And he says there's some issues with calculations. So yeah, have a look at these posts if you want a little bit more detail about what the tokenomics discussions are looking like. But the fact that these discussions are still ongoing and it seems like they're maintaining a good momentum, and the fact that Kane and Langers are contributing as well, I think is really encouraging. So I'm really happy about that. But definitely read these posts, and I'll keep giving you guys updates every few days about some of the discussions that are going on. And once we start writing bounties and grants and stuff, I'll open that up for all of you also. If you want to like kind of claim those or apply for those, you'll have that option. Okay, so next we got some bad news coming out of the Rocket Pool community yesterday, and that was of a slashing that occurred. So here yesterday, just before 6 p.m. Eastern time, a validator who had one mini pool got slashed, and we didn't really know what happened. So here Halululo shared the news in trading, and people saying that that's horrible, and basically just that it was most likely to be double attestation. Here Ramana said it was just a single mini pool node, so people were kind of like feeling bad about that. And then we didn't really know what was going on, but it was most likely just that it was going to be a double signing. But then the person who got slashed here, Subjoy, came into support yesterday and he says, please help, my wallet has been compromised. The scammer is draining my wallet right now. And then there's a link to their wallet. It says, please tell me what I need to do to secure my ETH. My node is down. So the node stopped working as well. So basically it's been slashed. So then Object got involved in, Object was asking about the withdrawal address, saying, is your withdrawal address safe? Is it compromised? What's the details with that? And I think Subjoy initially misunderstood and said that it's compromised, but then if it was compromised, he said try to change it as soon as possible. Use your old withdrawal address to sign the transaction to change it to a new address that only you control. But he says there's still over 1 ETH in there, so it doesn't look compromised. And then Subjoy, like I said, I didn't think he fully understood what was happening. He said, is my 16 ETH staked in danger? And Object says, so you got slashed, you lost 1 ETH because of that. But the rest of your stake should be okay if your withdrawal address is safe. So Subjoy says the withdrawal address is secured by Ledger, so the mnemonic, and then the mnemonic isn't compromised, so that was okay. So then basically I think Subjoy had a MetaMask wallet that had been drained, and also like a hot wallet basically that they were using, and that was compromised, and they lost 1 ETH because of a slashing. So I think in all they lost 1.2 ETH. But what happened is Subjoy clicked a bad link and was drained because of that. So I think it might have been using his node keys as a wallet. I'm not sure if I fully understand what happened there, or maybe they had multiple multiple seeds leaked, but I'm not sure exactly. But it seems like Object has, just to make sure this 100% clear again, your ledger is protecting the withdrawal address. You never entered that mnemonic anywhere but on your ledger. It's not stored anywhere on the computer, only you have physical backup. And he says my withdrawal address is protected by a ledger and it's safe now. So then Object said then your funds will be safe. It's still an expensive mistake, but you only lost 1.2 ETH, not as bad as 16 ETH. And then it says, is it possible that the person has access to your node or other computer? Did you just give them the node mnemonic? And he says the hot wallet is on MetaMask and they got the keys for the MetaMask. And he says, so if I withdraw address on Ledger, all my ETH will automatically go to my Ledger wallet. And then that's how it works, right? But he says you'll have to do a transaction manually. It's not automatic, but the thief can't get it. It can only go there. So Subject says, when will the withdrawal happen? And be withdrawable on January 3rd. And then Object said that they'll help that person. So there's nothing they can do right now. They just have to wait, and hopefully they'll, the claiming of their rewards will be straightforward once it comes to January. But it's a real shame that subject got slashed. I think it was that the hacker was trying to take control of their node, but thankfully, we make it a really well-known strong requirement that your withdrawal address is different from your node address, just to prevent situations like this from happening, which of course can be disastrous if they're not securely managed. Okay, next we had this really cool news from Patches, who shared a screenshot of the Rocket Pool Smartnode Stacks terminal user interface, and this is, it says navigation is categories, add-ons, rescue node. So it looks like the rescue node is now an official add-on to the Smartnode stack, here you'll be able to put in a username and password and check enabled, and it says go to the rescue node to get information and how to get a username and password. So I think the whole process is going to become a lot more streamlined, a lot easier for people to set up the rescue node. So Patches shared that screenshot, and Fornax, basically what had happened is Fornax was the person who merged that GitHub stuff into the Smartnode stack. So I guess in the next release, we'll be getting that official add-on. So Fornax here said it would be super cool to have an API call to grab the credentials, also information how long they would still have to be valid. And Patches says, now that the bones are there, I can do that. I'll have to use proto-raw to avoid external dependencies though, I think. And then Fornax says version 2 wishes, but it was Fornax who merged that code into, here Patches says Fornax merged my rescue node add-on, coming soon to a smart node near you. So this is a really nice addition that Patches has put in the smart node stack, and it's going to make using the rescue node a lot easier for node operators. So that's really good news. Thanks Patches and Fornax. Okay, next I'm going to do some self-shilling here. So there's a tweet here from SSV Network, and they have a panel. I guess they have some kind of show called Chain Reactions, or like a Twitter Space equivalent. And on Thursday this week, they're going to have a very special episode of Chain Reactions, and their guests are going to be Yorick, who of course is a rocket scientist in the Rocket Pool community. They're going to have me as someone kind of representing unofficially the Rocket Pool community, and Nixo, who of course is part of the ETH Staker and Rocket Pool communities. So this is going to be about staking synergy and the vanguard of that. So this is going to be taking place on Thursday morning Eastern time or Thursday afternoon European time, and I'm really excited here. It's got the time. It says Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're in Europe, that will be 2:30, I think, in the afternoon. So if you want to listen, pop in. And of course, the panel is very Rocket Pool aligned, so I'm sure that Rocket Pool is going to get mentioned a whole bunch of times, and I think it's going to be a really fun session. So definitely pop in and give that a listen if you are interested or curious about what we all have to say. I think it's going to be a really, really fun panel, and I hope a lot of you tune in. Okay, next we had this post from Invis, who shared Vitalik's new blog post, and this was Vitalik's post about techno optimism, and then Wo shared it just a few minutes later, and people kind of started talking about the post. And the reason why we're talking about the post here as well is because there was some comments made about staking in here, but mostly this is about Vitalik's views on technology and its growth and its future, and kind of how Ethereum fits into that and AI fits into that and all of these different kind of things. And of course, Vitalik was getting really philosophical in here and talking about a whole bunch of different things about different paths for humanity from here and how they could be amazing or not so amazing. And there was mention of stake here as well. So not too much though, like just a little bit. It was right here. It says, a carbon vote has its flaws. It relied on ETH holdings to determine who's a member. And then in this context, he mentioned, like, you could potentially use solo staked ETH as more aligned. And then there was another mention of staking here as well. He says, this philosophy is interesting, but my experience trying to ensure polytheism within the Ethereum ecosystem does make me worry that this is inherently unstable equilibrium. In Ethereum, we have intentionally tried to ensure decentralization of many parts of the stack, ensuring that there's no single code base that controls more than half of the proof of stake network, trying to counteract dominance of large staking pools, improving geographic decentralization, and so on. So Vitalik, that was kind of the extent of the staking mentions that Vitalik had, but give the article a read. A whole lot of people are talking about it quite a lot, so you might find some interesting ideas in there. Okay, and finally, we are going to finish with this information about the RPL benefactor. So for those of you who missed yesterday's episode, I contributed $3,000 to the benefactor with the idea of raising $10,000 to give out to the community, kind of as a celebration for the 300th episode of Rocket Fuel that will be happening on Friday this week. And currently, the goal was, like, if we reach $10,000, then Benny will distribute money to everyone, and if we don't reach $10,000, then everyone who put money into the pot, Benny will just send it back to those people. So we can see here that we have around 5,300 on mainnet, and this is through people buying the POAPs, which are selling quite nicely. And then on Arbitrum, we have another $500 or so. So we're at around the $6,000 mark now, which means that we just need $4,000 more to reach that $10,000 target. The POAPs, of course, are still available, and we've sold around 29 POAPs so far, and they're selling quite nicely, which is really wonderful to see. And of course, if you want to buy the POAP and contribute to this giveaway, then you can click on the link in the checkout link here, and you can just buy the POAP for $100, and the money will all go to the benefactor to distribute across the Rocket Pool community. So that's going really well. I'm not getting too desperate in my calls to reach $10,000 just yet, but hopefully we'll get there by Friday, and then we can all celebrate this weekend. I think that would be really nice. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.